Hey guys, it's Nick from This here. Today I have an exciting horror movie discussion video. I'll be diving into two different movies today, their connection, and possible future together. The two movies in question are Super from 2010 and Brightburn from 2019. James Gunn is involved in both projects, directing Super and producing Brightburn. So with that out of the way, let's get started. First off, I'll go over Super, as it's a lesser known movie than the latter. Considered to be a box office flop at the time of release, it's garnered a bit of a cult classic status. I personally loved the movie and think it had an exciting, unique premise, and very strong cast. Rainn Wilson as the Crimson Bolt, Elliot Page as his sidekick Bolty, and a douchey antagonist played by Kevin Bacon. It's a pretty edgy, raunchy movie, but some of the humor really sticks, and it's crazy to witness the Crimson Bolt beat criminals down with his trusty wrench, driven by the will of God. That's right, Frank Darbo is an untreated schizophrenic, who has visions of God touching his brain and people around him being demons, so he becomes a superhero by the name of Crimson Bolt to stop crime, or even just people butting in line.
Don't think you're better than me, you fucking psycho! You fucking almost kill people for butting in the line! You don't butt in line! You don't sell drugs! You don't molest little children! You don't grovel on the misery of others! The rules were set a long time ago! They don't change!
Needless to say, he's a very interesting character to watch, and the movie's ridiculous, raunchy tone takes a much more serious turn for the final act. I definitely recommend checking this flick out if you haven't yet. Like I mentioned earlier, Super didn't fare out well in the box office, so a sequel is most likely not on the table. However, this wouldn't be the last we see of the Crimson Bolt. Now, what does any of this have to do with Brightburn? Let me explain. In short, Brightburn is a superhero horror movie, where it's the classic story of a Superman-like alien that lands on Earth, but with a twist of the fact he's an evil little shit who comes from a planet of conquerors, and he's tasked with taking over Earth. His name is Brandon Breyer, and we see him get more and more comfortable with murder and torture as the movie progresses and as he familiarizes himself with his powers more. Add that with his preteen temperament, and you can just imagine how scary he ends up becoming. Brightburn seems to be set in its own universe, unconnected to anything else, until the very end of the movie where we see a conspiracy theorist podcast about different evil superpowered beings across the Earth, with the likes of Brightburn, some evil Aquaman clone, an alien, an evil witch in the woods, a question mark, and wait, who's that? Well, it's the Crimson Bolt, of course. The tiniest, easy-to-miss cameo ends up connecting two totally different movies into one universe. I figured this was just a cool reference to a past movie that James Gunn made happen, but I really do think the two movies work perfectly in the same universe. It makes sense since Crimson Bolt is considered a menace by most of the media in his own turf. I kind of feel bad for Rainn Wilson though. Imagine reprising a character only to appear in a tiny pixelated picture at the end of the movie. I do hope he returns as Crimson Bolt for real in the Brightburn sequel. I have a feeling that this cameo will play more into Brightburn 2 whenever that movie happens, and yes, I'm sure it will. The first Brightburn was a huge hit in theaters, earning more than double the budget in the box office. Gritty, violent superhero stories seem to be huge in popularity now, with the likes of The Boys, Invincible, Peacemaker, etc. Super got overshadowed by Kick-Ass and was a bit ahead of its time in my opinion. Also, the director and producer have both shown interest in continuing and expanding upon the Brightburn franchise, as well as Rainn Wilson admitting Crimson Bolt is the role that he's most proud of. So what could Brightburn 2 be about? Will we get to see the Crimson Bolt return for real this time? It definitely feels like they're setting up a similar storyline to DC's Crime Syndicate of America, basically just an evil version of the Justice League. The cryptids at the end of Brightburn definitely share similarities. I think that's much more likely than seeing Brightburn fight the Crimson Bolt, even though Brightburn is a villain and Crimson Bolt is technically a hero. They'll find some reason to have Crimson Bolt on the team. I can also see Brandon getting tired of working as a team and killing them all off Invincible style. I just feel like with Brightburn's god complex and the fact that he's never encountered any other superpowered beings, he's not going to be a huge fan of working as a team. It would be pretty funny though if Crimson Bolt is this universe's crazy version of Batman, and he comes up with a plan to defeat Brightburn, maybe making a wrench out of the material on Brandon's spaceship, which seems to hurt him based off of the first movie. I can definitely see these villains joining forces and then quickly turning on each other. It would definitely make for an interesting movie and would be much better than them writing in some superhero to show up and save the day. What do you guys think about the connection between these two movies and the possibility of Crimson Bolt showing up in the sequel? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, this has been Nickfamous. See you later.
Let's see how he likes a Kamehameha!